On to Afghanistan now. Britain has deployed military personnel to the southern Afghanistan province of Helmand, following reports that the district capital was on the verge of falling to the Taliban. Once a stronghold of the militant group, the region saw some of the fiercest battles between Taliban and NATO forces.
The entire southern Afghan Helmand province is on the brink of falling into Taliban control. Its key district of Sangin is said to have been seized by the Taliban. At least 90 members of the security forces were reported killed over the past 2 days alone. And according to regional officials, all but 2 of Helmand's 14 districts are effectively controlled or heavily contested by the Taliban. Officials in Helmand say unless President Ashraf Ghani takes urgent action, the province, a Taliban heartland that US and British troops struggled to control for years, would be lost.
The district bazaar is under Taliban control. The fight was going on inside the district governor's office this morning. The number of soldiers killed is unbelievably high.
However, the central government in Kabul says reinforcements have already been dispatched to Sangin, but at the same time they deny that the district is at risk of being seized.
The premises of the district governor office is not collapsed and Afghan security forces are in there. We assure you that the enemy will not be able to capture the district office.
Despite the uncertainty of details emerging from the ground, one thing is clear. The complete fall of Helmand would deal another decisive blow to Afghan forces, who are struggling to rein in the insurgency after the US-led NATO combat mission ended a year ago. This latest development comes a day after a Taliban attack in the east of the country near Bagram killed 6 US soldiers.
Yes, and joining me now from Kabul in Afghanistan is freelance journalist Bilal Sarwari. Bilal, good evening. Thank you for being with us. We know that Britain has deployed troops to Helmand province. How serious is the situation there?
The situation in Helmand is extremely serious. The province nearly was overrun in October by the Taliban. And back at that time, it was the American Special Forces and air support that really prevented the Taliban from taking Helmand. The district of Sangin, which is where you have got very intense fighting, is also the place where Britain lost more than 100 soldiers when Britain was fighting there. And you have to remember that Helmand is extremely strategic. If the Taliban managed to take control of Helmand, then you're talking about millions of dollars in heroin trade. You also talk about large stocks of weapons and ammunition as well as armored Humvees. And honestly speaking, I'm not surprised that the British Special Forces or American Special Forces are going back, because Western air support has always been very crucial in the last 1 year, when we have seen much more bloody fights between the Afghan National Security Forces and the Taliban.
And how big of a setback would this be for the Afghan government? And is it an indication of national forces are not ready to secure the country?
It will be a major setback. It will be a huge loss, because the Helmand province in the hands of Taliban could also mean many more places falling. But to be very fair to the Afghan government, the Afghan National Security Forces still don't have an air force. They still don't have enough transport helicopters. They are fighting against an enemy that has sanctions and safe havens across the border in Pakistan. And let's not forget that the Taliban would not be able to be as potent, as threat as they are, if they did not enjoy support from within the Pakistan Army and Intelligence Service. So that is a very crucial element. At the same time, what you notice in Helmand is a lack of accountability, lack of leadership on the battlefield. You have soldiers complaining to you that they have not been rotated for 6 months, that they have not been paid, that their food and living condition is appalling. And I was in Helmand less than 2 weeks ago, accompanying the country's 2 top generals who were running the war for the army and police. and they were listening what looks like a very disastrous situation. You have the issue of ghost soldiers, soldiers that exist on paper but they're not there. You have the issue of corruption within the police force. You have an environment of unaccountability. You have weapons missing, you have vehicles missing. So this is also about a crisis of management. But should Helmand fall into the hands of Taliban, I think London and Washington would be too embarrassed. They would simply not be able to afford it because it could mean a stronger Taliban. And we already know in Helmand from the Afghan Army Chief Staff that ISIS or Daesh is recruiting. So you don't want to hand over a Mosul sort of an area in Afghanistan to the Taliban where they could have millions of dollars, where they could have resources, because that would have implications beyond Afghanistan.
Bilal Sarwari, thank you very much for that.